Hi guys, it's Natalie and I have the new Lisa Eldridge palette. This is not a first impressions. I used it yesterday. I used every single shade yesterday. So I have a lot of thoughts already. We're gonna do a little look with it. I kind of want to do like a boring look with it, which is almost impossible because it's the Sorcery palette. So we'll swatch it and I'll talk about my initial thoughts first. Lisa Eldridge came with these eyeshadow palettes. They're $68 for 6 pans, which in terms of luxury pricing is pretty okay. I'm actually going to start swatching it, which I hadn't done before, but I've used every shade of it on my eyes already. These palettes have removable pans and you can also buy all the shades individually. So, but this is the only palette that as of right now is sold out, and also a lot of the individual shades are sold out as well. So this is the seamless matte in the palette. It's this really deep forest green called Troubadour, and I have thoughts. Okay, these mattes, this is the only matte in the palette, and there's also another matte texture called Velvet, which is supposed to be like a cream to powder. This is a little bit of a cream to powder feeling, and it's not completely matte. It almost has like a skin-like quality to it. You can see that it looks like kind of shiny, but it's not. Like, there's no shimmer in it or anything, but it has a little bit. It's not like matte, like chalky matte. The thing I feel about this shade, it's not the most unique shade in the world. I have several others that look very similar to it, so that's kind of my gripe with it, but the formula is very special, and we'll get to that later. I'll definitely use this on the eyes for sure. The next one on the top row is Grotto, which is a metallic. Most of this palette is metallics, but they all kind of have a different feel to them. So you can see that this one almost has like a, I don't know, it just comes off in the finger really like readily, and it's very shiny and it has some sparkle to it. So if you're a sparkle enjoyer such as myself, you'll definitely like this. It has a little bit of like a gray base with this like metallic and green sparkle look kind of going through it, which is really nice. I'm checking in like the natural lighting. We have minimal natural lighting today because even though it's just the early afternoon, it's dark. This is the box it came in, by the way. It came in with this little protector over the shadows, and the box has this like Lisa Eldridge thing on the inside. It was nicely packaged. Actually, I got 2 other things which we'll get to later, and they put them all in the pink bag, which was super sweet. So I love that. The next shade, which I think I want to use today because these kinds of shades call to me, Magical, is another metallic. It is very similar in feeling to that last one, and it also has like a grayish base, like a blackened base with that like chartreuse gold kind of color in it, and it almost has like a flip. I'm pretty sure it's just the fact that it's the shimmer in the base makes it look darker at an angle, but it almost has like a more green like flip to it. I don't know, there's something about it that it's just a little bit more magical, even though it is just classified as a metallic. The next metallic is the one under that called Swan Song. It's this blue, and this one feels a little bit more like putty-y almost. There's like a firmness and almost like silk nature to touching it, and you can tell it doesn't have the sparkle factor. There is some kind of like flecks of blue dust in it, and it actually looks very teal. It looks very teal here, but isn't like as like, it looks more like blue. It has like a blue and teal sort of a thing going on. Some like a very deep cobalt. It's very smoky, and I almost feel like this should be not called the same formula as the other ones because you can just see that they're not the same texture at all, really. Next metallic is this one called Mage in the middle. This one has some sparkle to it. Oh my god. It's this like sagey silver. I was just watching Khaki Rose Beauty put this shade on her eyes and it looked very green on her. And you can just tell on my skin tone it looks very taupe. I just kind of absorb green. Green is my favorite color. I have a million green eyeshadows. So I think green goes with my complexion really well for some reason, but it almost just like doesn't even look green on me. So, and it looked very green on her, like minty on her, and it looks taupey on me. So the last one in here is this special thing. It's a luminous duo, which I assume means duochrome, called Mercurial. You can just feel when you touch it, it's a little bit more softly pressed. It's a lot more softly pressed actually. And I mean, that is amazing. It's this gold, green, blue, purple. Honestly, it looks like a multi-chrome in some sense. It looks like a multi-chrome, like glitter, like the glitter multi-chromes from Cleona. It has that kind of feeling where it's not the pigment that's shifting, but it's the sparkles that are shifting. And I mean, it has this like pink base to it, but the shimmers in this light go from like a sagey green, there's a little bit of a gold. It just has a lot going on in there, and it can be washed out like a topper or just put on like so full force like that. Those are all the shades. You can kind of see how this one blends out. It blends out like green, so that's nice. My initial thought on the packaging was that it's not very heavy. It's very lightweight. I don't know what it is made out of. My first thought was plastic, but Khaki Beauty said aluminum, and I honestly, it sounds like plastic to me. She said it's aluminum, but I'm almost positive this is plastic, unless Lisa Eldridge said it's aluminum, but I mean, it feels a little bit plasticky to me. Maybe it's some coated aluminum or something. It's extremely lightweight. And it's very hard to open. That is how you open it. It's magnet closed. And to get it open, you pretty much need to have an edge of a fingernail that you can like lift it with. If you have no fingernail at all, like if they're like down to the quick, you can't open this. There is no way to open this. So that is kind of a con. I don't think light packaging is a con in nature. At least this is original, you know, and the mirror is very nice. So I was expecting it to be a lot weightier. I don't know why. I don't know what I want to do. Let's start with a matte and then move from there, I guess. These mattes, there's like no way to even make it kick up. Like it's just not possible. It's very like solid. And you can tell it doesn't go on full pigment right away. A Natasha Denona shadow or like a Pat McGrath shadow is like, you place it on, it's like boom, color instantly, and then you have to blend it out from there. These kind of like you place and it's like blended out, and that makes them really buildable and also makes it more approachable, especially when it's a very deep and intense color like this. I think a lot of people will get a little scared. You can see how this kind of just like is blended, like the edges just appear blended. There's no harsh lines with this. That's just not possible to have a harsh line with this. You can also tell, sort of similar to Natasha Denona cream to powder shadows, it's not getting as dark as it is in the pan, and you can get it that dark. I used a smaller brush, which I'll do after. This is somewhere between like a powder shadow and a Natasha Denona cream to powder. It has that feeling, which I'm kind of bummed out there's no velvet in here because I wanted to try that formula. And maybe I'll get the Myth palette eventually, which is the purpley one. But let's face it, greens are my favorite. And I wasn't expecting them to be everyone else's favorite too. I think they're kind of trendy right now. Like Dior released a kind of similar but more toned down version of this palette for holiday. So the more greens the merrier because I love them. So this is about how I want this. The lid will stay kind of unblended because we're gonna put stuff all over it. I'm gonna take a smaller brush to show just how dark you can get this. So this is a rougher 13. It's my favorite, like little tiny, like packing a little color on in the outer corner brush. And also just no freaking fallout with this. I mean, there's no kick up in the pan. It is literally like picking up a cream, and it's not even her cream to powder formula. So I'm curious how creamy that one is, if that's the cream to powder and this is the matte. Because like, wow, that is creamy. I mean, the way this blends out, it looks like a Natasha Denona cream to powder formula when it blends out. And it kind of has that same like skin-like texture. Yeah, I mean, you can really get this true to pan on the eye. You just have to use a smaller brush. On my very pale skin tone, I would probably benefit from having something else to blend that out just a little bit, but I don't care. It's fine. I really want to use the chartreusey gold color. Oh my god. Every time I pick this with my finger, it's like, oh. This is the kind of color I would put all over my lid, just like a little black liner, and I would be done. I like to pick up shadow into my crease, even when it's metallic, because then you get that little sparkle and shine, even when your eyes are like this. So you can really see the sparkle from all angles. And you would use that darker green shimmer to kind of bridge the gap between this brighter color. We're going on. It's not doing much because it's in such a small space, but it is kind of helping to bridge a gap between the dark green and the chartreusey. I'm gonna pick up the chartreusey green again and make sure it's really bright on the middle of it. I feel like the intention of a 6-pan in Lisa Eldridge's mind is to have as many looks as possible, so there's not really like an inner corner shade or something. There's nothing that's delegated to having just one purpose out of it. So that kind of puts me in a hard spot because I don't know what to do in terms of that. So I'm just going to use my Natasha Denona highlighter for my brow bone and my inner corner. I'm going to take the Mercurial shade. It's going to kind of steal the show, but I'm going to put that, really picking up barely any of it, just right there. This one can have a little bit of like glittery fallout because it is so like chunky glitters. I used Swan Song yesterday under my eyes. I don't want to use it. And I feel bad about that because I feel like that's the one shade that just gets ignored in this palette because it's the blue and the rest of the shades are green. So it's almost like it's its own thing. This is kind of like a green look today. So I'm actually going to take that Mage shade. I'm going to put that under the eyes. It is a metallic, but it's not as glittery as the other ones. It does a little bit of a dark base on my skin tone. Yesterday I put the Mercurial shade on my lower lash line and it was this amazing like pop of glowy diamond, but oh my god, it got in my eyes and it felt like crunchy in my eyeballs. So I don't know if I would suggest that. I am going to take a little bit of it on this brush though and kind of like dust it in the inner corner just to kind of pull those like glittery flecks in. I like that kind of sagey like silver on the lower lash line because it doesn't look dark at all, but it adds like a shadow. It's kind of somewhere between the blue and those two in terms of like fleckiness. It just blends really nicely under the eye. Okay, so now that we have the full kind of look together, this is the kind of look. Okay, is it the most unique look in the world? No. Is it very beautiful? Yes, it is. And I don't know if I could have achieved exactly this with other things in my collection just because the textures are very unique. I don't think all the colors are very unique. I'd say the most unique colors are like this blue just because of the interesting shift and like really dark nature of it. This kind of like chartreusey gold because it has that blackened base, and then this kind of silvery taupe because it does have a bit of like a drop of green in it. It does have this really harmonious quality to it. I almost feel like I wish this blue was different. I feel like when I pick up this palette and I want to make a look, I'm really drawn to the greens because greens are my favorite, and I feel like if it was another kind of green, it might have been even better. I don't know. I feel like she was just trying to get as most out of having 6 pans as possible, and that blue is stunning. However, I feel like I don't know how to make a look out of it just yet, and maybe I'll figure it out and show it. The other things I got were this lip duo that she was wearing at the beginning of the video, and I was like, man, I need that on my lips. I have other liners and other glosses from her, and this is the gloss in Muse, and it has a little like Lisa Eldridge on it now, which I don't think mine ever had. This is the liner in Fawn, which is literally the color of my lips, which is crazy. But yeah, I mean, that color is so perfect. I feel like everything looks much darker on me because I'm so pale. This lip combo didn't look nearly as sultry on her as it does on me. This kind of looks like how the Sorcery lip she did at the end looked on her. I was gonna get it and I was thinking, man, that might be really dark on me. So I'm glad I didn't, because this lip combo literally looks like that on me, even though it looked very pale on her. This is the Muse gloss. It's just so, it's so perfect. I love the Muse lipstick. It's like a very muted rosewood tone. I really like the shades. I think that they're gorgeous, honestly. I think they're beautiful. I think the finishes are a little bit unique. They're not like the most unique thing. I think we've seen some of these kind of finishes from Natasha and Pat McGrath before. But having all these colors together, I like it. It's up to you whether you think it's worth $68 or not. I love Lisa Eldridge. I think it's worth it to have a little piece of like her brain. And this palette's beautiful. I'm definitely going to be using it a lot, but I love green. I wear green eyeshadow like almost every day. I think it's doing something special. Can makeup be that much more special than it already has been? I don't know, but I feel like it is doing something special and I like it. I don't know if it's the holy grail yet, like her lip gloss is to me, but time will only tell. It's only the second day of using it. These are so gorgeous. Man, I could just look at it all day. That kind of sparkle that dances. They have that dancing sparkle. And I don't know how else to describe it other than the dancing sparkle. Like, it's a little bit more refined than like a Pat McGrath glitter shade. It's, I don't know, it's very fancy. It feels fancy. I think it's the ultimate thing. It feels fancy. If you want to see more looks with this, I probably will try and do a blue look because I feel like it's hard to use the blue in this palette, and I want to do a blue look with just this palette. Maybe like pairing these 3 shades or even just these 2, like a full blue look could be interesting. We'll see. I'll get it together. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time, and